And welcome back. With Update Apex Predators, Gaijin introduced a bunch of new Rank 7 premiums for players to grind Rank 8 with. While initially it caused some controversy with the accusations of cash grabbing being tossed around, turns out a lot of players bought them in anyway. From the lethal MiG-23ML to the less than lethal F4EJ-ADTW, I've encountered these aircraft playing top tier Air RB anyway. But personally owning the J7D, I feel like some of these aircraft could have been better. So let's take a look at some of these aircraft to try and make suggestions what better vehicles could have taken its place. We'll run through each nation one by one, and if I can't find an alternative for that nation, I'll explain why. We start with the United States. The A6 ETRAM is a workable strike fighter 10.0. It's pretty much an A10 early with the same BR and a higher rank, with more AIM-9Ls and guided bombs. If one wants a fighter, I suggest that instead of the A6E, the premium vehicle should be the F4S Phantom II. A later modification of the F4J, it can carry AIM-9Ds, AIM-9Gs, and AIM-9H sidewinders, as well as AIM-7E, AIM-7E2, and AIM-7F sidewinders. It could sit at 11.3 like the F4J. I picked the F4S for the Americans because it's so weird they're the only ones with a 10.0 Strike Fighter Premium, while others get fighters at 10.0 or 10.7 or higher. But if one wanted to see a 10.0 but wanted a fighter, I suppose the F4D could work. No, not the bloody Skyray, I still get nightmares flying that plane. The F4D is basically an F4C with chaff and flare dispensers and walleye capability. The F4D could stay at 10.0 with the AIM-9E and AIM-7D like the F4C, or at 10.3 with AIM-9Js and AIM-7Es. I had initially considered the XF823 Crusader 3, but that's a pretty awful premium to charge $70 for. For Germany, an alternative to the MiG-21 BIS Laser M should be the F4F Phase 1 ICE. The Phase 1 of the ICE program still did not include an AMRAM but a new ALR-68 RWR for the F4F. However, an improvement that it should receive is that it gets an AIM-9L Sidewinder after the AIM-9J. I still think the Tech Tree F4F should get AIM-9Ls, but hey, you know. Basically, ICE Phase 1s were late F4F variants with the APQ-120 radar but replaced the AIM-9J with AIM-9Ls and retained the Maverick capability. Even though it's not necessary, but if one wanted a strike fighter premium for Germany, it's either the Alpha Jet or the East German Su-22M4 with R60Ms. The L-39ZO is interesting, but it's a pure strike fighter with no air-to-air missiles. For the British, the Phantom F3 or the F4JUK is a really good choice on Gaijin's part. But if a strike fighter alternative was necessary, it could have been the Harrier GR5. It had the T-Odd capability but not the AGM-65D Mavericks. It could carry the same 4 AIM-9L Sidewinders but could not mount the countermeasure dispensers on the pylons. It used the Pegasus Mark 105 engines. Also used a 25mm Aiden guns like the GR7, and it could probably sit in the same BR as the Sea Harrier FRS-1 since the GR5 could not carry the BOL chaff dispensers that the GR7 got. Honestly, I thought the FRS-1 would be a Tech Tree vehicle after the FG-1, but I guess I was wrong. China is a weird case. The J7D is alright, I guess, but it's in a weird spot. It's a MiG-21 SMT expected to perform like a MiG-21 BIS, but without the all-aspect missiles and the engine power or dogfight capability of the J7E. It's only at 11.0 because of the PL-5Bs, which are really good missiles, to be honest. But instead of the J7D, a good alternative could be the J8-1, the predecessor to the J8B we see with a drastically different appearance, looking more like a twin-engined MiG-21 thanks to its shock cone on the nose. The J8-1 had the same 23mm guns and JL-7 radar on the J7D and could have PL-5B missiles as well, but for a stronger engine and better dogfight capability. For a strike fighter, I guess it's either the Q5M with two PL7s or AIM-9Ts, as this was a project between Eritalia and Katik that produced two prototypes but went nowhere. If you want more information on the various workings of the Key 5, please see my old video about it. Okay, I gotta be honest with you, Japanese players. I can't think of anything for Japan. I don't want a late variant Mitsubishi F1 with AIM-9Ls in the GCS1 because in the end it's still a Mitsubishi F1 and it should just receive those upgrades in the tech tree. The F4EJ is not that great considering the Japanese F4EJ is the worst F4E in the game, lacking the Agile Eagle upgrades of the US and Israeli F4Es. It also doesn't use AIM-7E to dogfight Sparrows, just using the old AIM-7Es. At 11.0, it's an RP Pinata when uptiered to 11.7, or even just tracing follow 11.0s like the JE37C. So Japan's a bust and they're not going to have anything nice until probably the F-15s drop. Though the rework to the APG-66 radar and the subsequent implementation of the AIM-9L on the EJ Kai did give that plane a much needed boost. Italy's Turkish Air Force F-104S is meh at best. AIM-9Ps and AIM-7Es, it is definitely one of the most 10.7 vehicles of all time. Rather than the F-104S, the better premium for Italy would have been the Brazilian AMX International AMX or the A1. We could add it without the MAA-1 Piranha for a spell and just give it the AIM-9Ls. With two 30mm guns and two AIM-9Ls, it'll be tons better at 10.0, allowing Italy to join the Strike Fighter fist fight at that BR. Sweden is pretty much in the same boat as Japan. The J35XS is alright, as that's the best J35 variant out there and could be made even better if it received the R13Ms that it was mounted with in finished service. The other candidates for Tier 7 aircraft I have should be Tech 3 vehicles like the AJS-37. And, well, that's the only candidate. It could carry more Mavericks and AIM-9Ls, as well as the RBS-15, which is like more or less the Swedish Cormoran missile. France, however, is a different story. The F1C200 is just an F1CT without the laser spot tracker fitted under the nose. Instead of the F1C200, a good choice would be to introduce South African aircraft in their tree and add something like the Atlas Cheetah E. While it could carry only two missiles, the V3B Kukri and the V3C Darter missiles, it would be interesting to have them as they are essentially AIM-9s, with HMD capability, and the latter is an R550 Magic. There's also the Mirage F1A, which is a strike variant of the Mirage F1 for South Africa and Libya, which had more stores for fuel but less missiles, as the two R530F pylons were turned into wet pylons for fuel tank because the Serrano 4M radar was replaced by the ADA-2 ranging radar. Honestly, the Atlas Cheetah could really be used to sell the HMD feature aside from the F4J and the MiG-29. So, it'd be actually interesting since the Cheetah is derived from the Mirage 5. But I don't know, I think they probably put in the Israeli or whatever. Speaking of Israel, the Kfir Canard for Israel is, all Kafirs have canards, bruh. But yeah, a Kafir is fun, but the F4E Kurnas 2000 would have been better. Python 3s and AIM-9Ls, but foregoing Sparrows. While the Sparrows could theoretically still be fitted, they were phased out of service by the time the F4E Kurnas 2000 upgrade program produced the first examples. Though the F4E Kurnas 2000, I'm not sure about it. The APG-76 is a very advanced radar, and the F4E Kurnas 2000 fits more of a Tier 8 fighter than a Tier 7, but man, I just really need Python 3s introduced. The J8B needs PL8s, the Kfir C7 needs them at 11.3, and it would make Israel grinding a more worthwhile and rewarding task. There's also the plane named the IAI Finger, the plane named Finger, which had two AIM-9Ls on the IAI Nishar platform, which is interesting, but it's Argentinian. So, maybe not. Well, that's just what I think. Getting the J7D isn't the worst choice in the world for me, although its poor SL rate at the beginning did bug me until Gaijin fixed that. PL7s are nice, but not having all aspect missiles at 11.0 is starting to show its handicap, especially with the SMT's flight model. Anyways, thank you for watching again. What kind of premium per nation would you like to see in War Slugger? Let me know in the comments below, and please like, share, and subscribe, and thank you for watching. Of course, this is the Dr. MD. Godspeed.